Hi, I'm Britt.
And my name is Alissa.
And this is Skeletales.
And this is the podcast where we strive to answer the age-old question of, is my dead grandma watching me?
We do. We also share true tales of the strange, unusual, and paranormal.
Heck yeah, we do, Britt. What are we talking about this week?
We're talking about one of the scariest, most terrifying, most horrifying places you could go. The hospital. And strange paranormal things that happen there.
That's a place where people go and are never seen again.
I know. It's going to be fun and a little freaky.
I am so excited about this. They're some of my favorites.
Me too. Okay, are you ready? I got one for you. Right out the gate. This comes from Dr. Bossio. As a doctor in a hospital in the UK, I was on a night shift that was particularly quiet. Some of the nurses were sitting around and telling this story. A young doctor was running to a crash call. Our hospital is a giant L shape, with the front entrance being at the bend. A woman stopped him and asked him, "Which way is the exit?" And he directed her, "Right there," but he kept running. And when he got to the patient, it was the same woman who had asked for directions, and she had died. Apparently, it got caught on the CCTV. On the CCTV, it shows that doctor stopped midway down the hall, gesturing towards the exit, saying something to no one in particular, and continuing running on.
Oh my God. Can I just get into my next story?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay, so this one is from Milk Dragon, and they say there is a closed old psych unit on the 11th floor of my hospital that is occasionally used for overflow patients and staffed by float pool when needed. I was working a night shift and had a patient ask during night med pass if I could ask housekeeping to not empty her trash in the middle of the night as it woke her up the night before. I thought, weird, but okay. I called housekeeping and they said they don't have anyone cleaning on nights on the overflow unit. This patient was fully oriented, walkie-talkie, not weird at all. Not a sundowner in any way whatsoever. We should probably add, there's a lot of nursey, doctory jargon in these stories. So
yes.
If you don't Google it, apparently. 3 a.m. rolls around and the patient rings her call bell. And as I'm walking down the hall to her room, the double doors, they're locked and they require a badge swipe to access, closed. I answered her bell and she is mad that she asked for housekeeping not to come in, and they did. She said they emptied her trash and she heard the can open and the trash bag rustle. I profusely apologize and insist it won't happen again. I call housekeeping, who again stated they don't have someone covering our floor at night because it's just an overflow unit. So I call security since the doors are badge access open. They pulled the badge swipe logs for the doors and no one had accessed the doors after the kitchen staff picked up the dirty trays at 9 p.m. They pulled footage of the hall corridor and can clearly see the doors open halfway, close, and not a single person in sight. We still have no explanation to this day, and it's just well known that the 11th floor is haunted. Apparently, it was making the psych patients really unsettled and really hard to handle, and they moved the unit to a new wing of the hospital and only use this floor now for short-term overflow.
Oh my God, that's so good.
Video evidence.
You gotta
I'd be
love
convinced.
it.
That's amazing. I like yours a little more of a doctor talking to someone who isn't there. Did she die from wrong directions? Someone gave her the wrong directions. She walked up a cliff or
she's
something.
Like, I gotta go. Where's the exit? Goodbye.
Love it.
I have one from a website called trustedhealth.com, and they had posed a question for medical staff to post any paranormal things that may have happened to them. So this comes from an RN, Jerry F. I'll never forget this experience from my early days as a pediatric nurse. Working in one of the oldest wings of the hospital during the night shift, I witnessed something that still puzzles me to this day. Children who are generally extraordinarily perceptive began noticing an unexplained presence precisely around 6 a.m. Several of them, unprompted and with striking consistency, asked about the new doctor who just visited us. They then described him as a tall figure with gray hair, glasses, and always wearing a white coat. Eventually, I had to ask my colleagues about this mysterious man. Oh, that sounds like Dr. So-and-so. Well, let's give him a name. That sounds like Dr. Pepper. They said nonchalantly. He used to work here, but he passed away some time ago. We still believe that he makes his rounds, checking in on the children. I'd never seen any pictures of this doctor, yet every child recounted the same image. It was an eerie realization that perhaps those we've lost continue to watch over their charges, existing in a space between our reality and theirs.
Ooh, children don't lie.
Children don't lie, and they all saw the same doctor making his rounds.
Dr. Pepper. What a great doctor name.
Okay, so I have a fun story. Not paranormal in the slightest. When Ellis was a wee baby, maybe like 3 weeks old, tiny little guy, he got croup. And it was really bad. Like, they sound like a seal. I don't know if your children have ever had
they
croup.
didn't.
Oh, it's awful and terrifying. And especially with a tiny little newborn. I was so nervous. Yeah. So we went into urgent care. The doctor comes in. She's like, "Hi, I'm Jennifer Pepper. I'm going to be your doctor today." And I just stopped and I stared and I was like, "Your name's Dr. Pepper?" Like, my child can't breathe, but I still had to make that note. And she thought it was the least funny thing that she could possibly hear.
Because she purposefully didn't say Dr. Pepper. She said her first and last name and hoped you wouldn't put it together.
Oh, bless it. She was born Jennifer Pepper and then was like, "I'm going to be a doctor," and never heard the end of it. This episode goes out to Dr. Jennifer Pepper in Pflugerville, Texas.
She probably got married and changed her name like so fast.
Oh my God, that would be such motivation to get married and change your name. Yeah.
I would think that people would be like happy with that. I don't know.
Well, I thought she would be, that I made the realization. No, it was good though. It was good. That's why I had to say Dr. Pepper though. We don't actually know what the ghost doctor's name was. They didn't inform us of that
to
detail.
Fill in the blank. Odin's allergist, or one that he's gone to, is named Dr. Doom.
Doom?
Dr. Doom is his name. He's an allergist. Yeah.
Well, yeah, he had to go into allergy. What other field can you go into where people can trust you? Jesus.
Hello, I'm your cardiologist, Dr. Doom.
Even your dentist. You can't even be a dentist.
That's really, I don't even know if I thought about that. I was like, that's awesome. No part of me was like, that's really unsettling. If I was dying and you were my doctor. I was like, that's really cool. For a while at school, they misspelled my last name on my name badge, and instead of Alissa Williams, they spelled it Alissa Williams with a V. And I really like it.
I do. It's like villain, right?
Yes. It's like kind of evil. My name's Alissa Williams.
Oh, hello, Alissa Williams.
Williams? No, Williams.
Williams. Get it right.
And then they fixed it, and I was very sad. Okay, this one comes from Misery. Talk about names. My parents were very young when they had me. When my dad was in med school, I used to go with him if they couldn't find a babysitter. I'd sit quietly and read or draw. One time, he asked if I wanted to see a cadaver, and he told me what it was. And I said, okay, and he took me to the cadaver lab. He didn't want to freak me out because I was only like 5 years old. So we stood outside and looked through the glass door. Everything was wrapped and covered except for some people who were dissecting their cadaver. He explained what was going on, and I was watching. That's when I asked who the other guy was. There was a man who looked like a typical dusty old professor. I asked if he was the teacher. My dad couldn't see the guy. I described him and pointed right at him. Dad couldn't see him. When I pointed at the old professor guy, he smiled sweetly and did a little wave back by holding his hand up and then wiggling his fingers without moving his whole hand. I waved back and my dad was like, okay, let's get out of here. As we started walking away, I waved at the guy and he gave me a huge smile and stuck out his tongue playfully. And that was it. I asked my dad about it years later and he said he remembered the incident, still claimed to have seen nothing, but he said he always felt creeped out in that room from then on and only went in with his lab partner after that, never alone.
Oh my God, so good.
I love it. And reading this reminded me that the first time I saw a baby born, I was 11 years old. And the lady, because my uncle is an OBGYN and I used to go on rounds with him. And the lady's like, is she supposed to be in here? Like that was an old lady sound, but like pushing, why is there this kid in my room? Like, is she supposed to be in there? Can you imagine having a baby and pushing it out? And there's a little 11-year-old in there.
Like a random 11-year-old.
Watching. Like not related at all. First time I've ever met you and I'm staring at your vagina and your baby crowning.
And your uncle's just like, it's fine. She's fine.
She's a med student. I totally forgot about that. It wasn't traumatic. I wanted to be a doctor for a long time.
Like, did you have to sign any paperwork? I mean, probably not. It was the 90s?
No, it's like when you have a teacher, I'm sure you've had that where you go into the doctor and they're like, hey, is this okay? This is my medical student who's shadowing me for the day. Are you okay with them being here? And I'm always like, I can't say no. I was in that room when I was 11, literally 11 years old. So I'm like, no, totally fine. I get it.
Oh, God, so good.
I just love how she freaked her dad out and he could never go back in that room again.
Serves him right for trying to show his child a cadaver.
At 5? Yeah.
Comeuppance.
Props to Uncle Alan. Never tried to show me a cadaver. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Uncle Alan.
He did have a skull in his office, though.
Oh, nice. This transitions so beautifully to my next story. All right, this comes from Eat Your Liver. In the morgue at my hospital, I would always hear knocking coming from inside the freezer, and it really creeped me out, especially when the pathologist looked up, grabbed me by the shoulders, stared me straight in the eye and said, "You hear that? You never open that door when they're knocking. Never." It turned out that to be some loose pipes, and he thought that it was the most hilarious thing he'd ever said, and I did not sleep a wink that night.
Oh, I love that so much. Oh my God. Well done, pathologist. And actually, that transitions beautifully to my next story.
Yes.
What is happening? Okay, so this one comes from Dark Horse, and they say, one particular room where I work definitely has something going on in it. Patients pass in that room more than any other. Most claim to see her, quote unquote, her, in the upper corners of the room, behind the door or behind the curtains. When pressed to describe her or who her is, they'll just point in a direction and say her. They rarely speak of her in the past tense. It's normally in the present tense, like she is there. In that room, lights flicker, mostly when you turn them off. They sort of surge a little bit, if that makes sense. Sometimes patients will complain about someone who keeps whispering, "Hey," or breathing in their ears while they're trying to sleep. All stuff I dismissed as, yes, lots of people die there because it's room number 1. It's more likely to have people in it because it's the first room on the hallway, and most critical patients are in that room closest to the nurse's station. Flickering lights are power surges, faulty wiring, or bad bulbs. People hearing or seeing things is a regular phenomenon when they're dying. So I say it's the brain preparing to or actively dying, not a true ghost. One evening, however, I was making rounds. It was about 2:30 a.m., and I walked past that room. The lights were off, the door was closed, and no one was in it. I came back by about 3 a.m. and the door was open about 2 feet. The bedside light was on and the curtain pulled around the far bed. I could see a silhouette of a person standing through the curtain. I thought it was a coworker trying to scare me because we scare each other regularly. Since I could see them through the curtain, I was going to Uno reverse that shit and scare them. I slipped in the door, tiptoed across the room, and tried to grab them through the curtain. I lunged, fully expecting to grab him, and I grabbed nothing but air. I was leaning forward enough. It looked like I was trying to swing on the curtain. I kind of kept going and ended up laying across the bed. Whoever I had seen through the curtain was not there. I had a shiver run up my spine and a sudden feeling of dread in my stomach. My hearing became very acute, and it was almost like things slowed down with my vision. I could hear my heart pounding in my ears, and it took what felt like forever to look back towards the door. The bathroom light that was off then pulsed and fluttered like it was trying to come on. Time and speed came back to me, and I bolted out the door and back to the nurse's station. My coworkers were all there doing some charting, and they laughed when I told them what happened. We walked back down to the room. The light was still on. The curtain was partly open and dangling where I had pulled on it so hard, but the bed covers were flung open on one side like someone had just gotten out of bed. The bathroom light flipped right on and back off with no issues. They jokingly accused me of sleeping on the job and having a night terror. Now I use humor to kind of cope with that room, and I'm back on days. I'll say, "Not today, Satan," or "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," or the old reliable, "The power of Christ compels you," in a half-joking manner going in that room. But I know on the inside, I'm still kind of low-key scared.
Hell yeah, you are.
That's really terrifying. I really I felt like I've had those moments that she was talking about where time just slows down and you realize like, oh fuck.
Shit.
She knew like something was fucked up.
Things were not as they seem. Oh, that's so good. Oh, it's very well written too. Hopefully I never have to go to the hospital. But if I do, it now has me convinced to say, hey, so this room that I'm getting put in, it's not haunted, is it? Right? Right? Don't give me room 1. I don't want it.
Yes. I might want the haunted room. I might go the reverse.
Yeah. Okay.
I say that and then I'll be like, get me the fuck out. It'll be 2 a.m.
Yeah. Your trash is getting taken out. That bathroom light is flickering. Someone's breathing in your ear.
Take it back. Or well, just someone standing in the fucking corner. I don't even care about all the rest of that stuff. Do not like give me a room where there's someone standing in the corner.
Oh, I don't know. I think that's most hospital rooms. Before I tell my next story, I want to tell you about Hi, Hello There. It's a place where fun art meets fun people. And you'll find all sorts of fun hand-drawn art by Jason, the artist, local here in Portland. He draws everything from ghosts to skulls to Bigfoot, monsters, and more. Go give him a follow on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube and let him know that Skeletal sent you. Skeletal's listeners get a special discount of 15% off your order from the shop. Use code SHADOWPEOPLE at checkout. Again, that's hihellothere.art and let Jason know that Skeletal sent you. Okay, on to my next story. How about instead of someone in the corner, what about a haunted cat in your room? You ready for this story?
I'm ready.
I work in a cardiovascular surgical ICU. We have a lot of fucked up people, both physically and mentally, that come through our unit. We had a stretch of nights where each corner of our unit, it's a perfect square, reported seeing a cat walking around. But not a friendly cat either. Apparently, this cat was hissing at all of them. The accounts were so similar to each other, we actually spent like half an hour looking for this cat and even had security come up and look as well. No cat was ever seen or found, and 2 of the 4 patients coded the very next day. And that came from AJ, 1717.
Ghost cats, though.
Ghosty cats. Death in the form of a cat.
Do you think that's like a shapeshifter or something? Or there, cats used to be the witches' familiars, like, and cats were like banned from churches and shit for a long time because they were like Satan. I like that. I did see a story about a vet, but I was like, doesn't count. So I skimmed over that.
Vets have to be a different episode.
Yeah. So this one comes from Deleted. They regretted sharing this tale.
Ooh.
Says, I worked in a very large hospital that had multiple buildings and big parking lots. Staff had to park in a lot that was a hike at the best of times and a PITA in bad weather. Oh, pain in the ass. But at least the buildings were connected by an underground walkway. I started around 7 a.m. and I got there early to avoid commuter traffic, which meant I was usually in the underground walkway alone after 6 a.m. It was for sure 400 feet long. The hallway had those metal doors at intervals with push bars and glass that had metal grids on them, like schools had. Many times I'd be there before the maintenance staff who would unlock the doors in the hallway, which meant I'd be blocked from getting to my workspace and have to wait in the hallway until they made the journey down the hall to unlock the doors. Otherwise, I'd have to go back to the beginning and walk upstairs through the hospital corridors. They were probably connecting ways to get upstairs, but I didn't know how. One time, I was in the underground hallway and walking to my workspace. I noticed a guy a couple of 100 feet in front of me, outside a huge white door. No idea where that led. Hospitals have a ton of doors. I'm walking and I'm walking. He's just standing there facing the other wall, and I'm walking and walking. And in a blink of an eye, he was no longer there. Right in front of my view. He's gone. Okay, whatever. That was strange. There were no other doors right there he could have ducked into. Finally, I got up to where he was standing and keep on going to my desk. Some days or weeks later, it's raining out and one of my coworkers comes in soaking wet. I asked her why she didn't take the lower hallway, and she says she won't walk down that way because strange things have happened. I asked for more information, and she says she worked there for years, and many workers have seen people standing there and then vanish in a blink outside the door. What door? The big white door? Yes, she says. That's the morgue door. And she's having none of that after seeing someone blink out of existence as she was walking down that hallway. I casually asked other workers if that was the morgue door, and they confirmed. Yikes. But I kept using that hallway anyway. Not going to walk in the rain or snow. Go get out of my way. I got places to be and things to do.
Hell yeah. Oh my God, that's so good.
That sounds creepy as fuck. I don't want to be in a long, dark hallway.
Creepy as fuck. All of that. But the cherry on top is that it's the fucking morgue door.
So what are they doing? That's really creepy.
Why are they standing? Are they standing and just waiting? What are they waiting for?
What if they're all like in the morgue and then they're seeing themselves get autopsied and they're like,
Mind blown. Each person who's getting autopsied is standing. Oh, I love that.
Oh, I hate that one.
I love it. I hate
really
it.
Creeps me the fuck out. I'm never walking down a hallway again or an underground hallway.
Good luck going to the bathroom tonight.
Do you have another one?
I have one last one. This one comes from Feng Gui. A patient comes in coding, and we're working on him, and we're getting nothing. So we bring in his wife to say goodbye, and she starts yelling at him at the top of her lungs. How dare you? Fuck you. Wake up. And he comes back. And so we arrange transfer to a tertiary hospital. And he codes again. So she comes back and yells at him again. You better wake up, you motherfucker. You can't dial me now. And he comes back again. Cut to the future. They're loading him into the helicopter. And he, no joke, codes again. So they bring him back into RER after working on him for a bit on the helipad, and his wife comes in and yells at him again. Don't you dare die on me. It's not your time yet. You better get up. And once again, he immediately comes back. Eventually, they decide to have his wife ride in the helicopter with him to make sure that she can scare him back to life whenever he goes. The guy ended up living and received a heart transplant and is still alive to this day, thanks to his wife scaring the life back into him.
Oh my God, that might be like my favorite story I've ever heard on this podcast. That's hilarious. She's like better than a defibrillator.
Yes.
I just love the idea that someone like swearing, like it's not all bad, like just put the fear of death in him.
Yeah, he's like, oh God, she's going to be so pissed if I die right now.
So mad. Oh gosh, she's gonna be real mad at me. Like 4 times, like
4 times.
Literally, they're probably like shocking him with like the paddles. And they're like, what? Why the fuck are we even using these? I love it. So this one comes from allnurses.com. Something I'm noticing about nurses and medical professionals, they love talking about this shit. Morgue and mortuary and caretakers and whatnot. Not
so
fans.
much. Yeah.
Not open to it in the least. But maybe these guys at the end of life see more. They're like, it's just more activity.
Yeah.
By the time they're at the funeral home,
It's too late. Yeah.
all the good stuff's already happened. Okay. Anyway, so this one comes from allnurses.com. The story of Rocking Mary. We closed room 12 in our medical intensive care unit because just about every patient that has been there since Mary died complains of seeing a woman wearing a white habit rocking back and forth by their bedside. Apparently, this nun never makes eye contact, just stares outside the window, which happens to be on the patient left side over their head. This window overlooks the hospital cemetery where nuns that have died were buried. Mary was a nun that died of a car accident outside the hospital back in the 1950s. She was only about 30 years old, and all patients describe her as a young woman. We all thought that it was the sundown syndrome, but after several patients reported the same thing, we were convinced. Since then, room 12 has become a storage room where no one goes in by themselves unless it's absolutely critical.
Ooh, Mary.
I just like that every single one has described a nun rocking in a chair. That's a very descriptive thing that would convince me that everyone's seeing the same ghosts. They're seeing the same person.
Yes.
Over and over and over. Like your children at the beginning who saw the same doctor over and over again.
Could describe the same exact person.
How do you explain that away? Like, I'm a skeptic. I'm the skeptic of the duo.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of stuff convinces me.
All right. This comes from Anonymous. I'm an ER nurse. I had an old lady come in by ambulance near death. She was a do not resuscitate, so we weren't going to do much for her. She didn't have any family that we could find. The hospital was full, so we had to keep her in the ER for the night. Again, she was like near death. When you've seen enough people die, there's no mistaking it. And she was almost there. Barely responsive, pale, cool, breaths that are really irregular. Heart rate was up and down too. We just turned the lights down and kept an eye on her monitor, basically just like waiting for her to die. About an hour later, she's standing at the door of her room. She'd gotten up and gotten all of her clothes on. And we're like, what the fuck? One of the nurses went to check on her and she said, I'm hungry. And not really knowing what to make of things, we got her a chair, a bedside table, and went to the cafeteria and got her a tray of food. The lady sat there and ate her food and talked with the staff a little bit. And then about an hour later, she said, I'm tired and would like to lay back down again. And we helped her back into bed. And within 30 minutes, she was dead. This is not exactly paranormal, but in 22 years in a busy-ass inner-city ER, it is the weirdest thing that I have seen.
I had a similar one where the person, though, was in like a catatonic state, hadn't spoken for like, I think the whole time this person was like nursing him. You know what? It was in a hospice, and I was like, doesn't count because it's not a hospital.
Not a hospital.
Yeah, or like it was a nursing home. And so this one patient had been catatonic for months and months and months, never said a word. And then the nurse was back facing and then heard, "Don't let him take me." And they turned around and the person was standing straight up in their bed and looking in the corner, and then they died. Why are we laughing? It's so bad. I'm laughing.
It's so freaky as shit is what it is. Don't let him take me.
They didn't say anything, and that's the only thing they've ever said.
And then they die? That's terrifying.
And then they died. Isn't that terrible? There were some really horrible ones. Oh, on that note, everybody.
And that's the end of the episode.
Sweet dreams.
Okay, even though this isn't paranormal, it's just a strange one, which is, we do strange unusual. She just needed her last meal, and I can fully respect that. Like, if I'm there and I'm like laying on my deathbed, I'm like, fuck, I'm about to die. But like, that means I'm never going to have a bagel again, or I'm never going to be able to eat pasta. Like, no.
You're going to rally. You're going to rally.
I need to rally for that last meal. Gonna do it.
I like the idea of like mistaking someone just being really hangry for them being on the brink of death. Oh, wait. They were just really hangry and that's all. Oh, I'm going to die.
I'm so hungry I could die right now.
Yeah.
This opens up the floodgates, though, for our nurse and doctor friends to please share your stories with us.
Please, because you all have one. This is like we could make a whole podcast about
and
nurses.
We want to with your stories. If you have a story to share, or even if you've overheard a story from a nurse or doctor or anywhere, feel free to email us in our hot box
at gmail.com. Nope, that's not the email address. It is skeletalespodcast@gmail.com. We should have just named it hotbox at gmail.com. Do you think that's taken?
I bet it's free. We also have a hotline that you can call in and share your voicemail. Don't worry, we will not answer the phone because that causes everybody anxiety. That number is 302-689-DEAD, 302-689-3323.
You should totally go check us out on the social medias. We're everywhere. We have this kick-ass merch shop.
Yes, we have a merch shop at skeletalespodcast.etsy.com. We have shirts. Oh, we have shirts that are half off right now. Skeletales shirts are half off right now. No coupon code needed. Free shipping. It's like $12. You do not want to miss this. We're going until supplies last, so get there before your size is taken up. Don't forget to go visit our friend Jason at hihelloThere.art and use coupon code SHADOWPEOPLE to get 15% off, and just go say hi to him.
Oh, also, please go like, rate, review, and share the podcast. You don't understand how much it helps us.
Alissa, I'm so happy that you mentioned that, because as a matter of fact, we have a review that I would like to share on air right now. I'm very excited to read this one because it made me blush a little bit. This comes from Sunshine Flower, and they say, "Love you guys. I have been listening to Britt and Alissa since the beginning, but only now got around to writing a review. Spooky season is my favorite, and this podcast makes me feel the perfect amount of spooky all year long. I have so much fun listening to these ladies tell stories about everything unusual, but honestly, I would listen to them chat about anything because I feel like I'm hanging out with friends when they're on. Thank you for being you." Oh, my heart, my heart. Oh, it's so good. Thank you so much, Sunshine Flower.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love that.
Oh, Alissa, speaking of hot brags, there's one last thing I wanted to tell you.
Okay.
Haunt y'all later.
Haunt you later.